Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious with these officers, officials of the Titusville Police Department. Mr. Timothy Waring, good to see you, sir. And Amy Matthews.
Hi, good to be back.
Amy is the information officer, has always been kind to the American Space Museum. And we have events coming up like the launch of Artemis 1. They can only be here 10 minutes, so I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Waring and Amy and tell us what we need to, first of all, how the flow of traffic is going to be. And I'm going to show some pictures in the background of STS-135 that was Bedlam behind me here on the green screen on the Max Brewer Bridge. That's beside Space View Park. And many of you have been there and know that. So tell us what we need to know, Sergeant, about this event. How many people we expecting? And what's the preparations?
We're very happy to be here again for another launch. We're hoping everything is successful. Traffic in the city, obviously, throughout the history of these launches that occur in the city sometimes gets a little congested, as you can see on the green screen behind us. However, we are prepared. We have most of the officers at the police department ready to assist in the flow of traffic and making sure that everyone is safe. Amy Matthews here, she coordinated a lot of these things in between multi-agencies to make sure that we have a successful launch.
Amy, you've been involved with this sort of thing a while, I understand. You've been, both of you are veterans of the great Titusville Police Department, and I just want to throw in there while I'm thinking about it. They've done a great job of keeping transient people out of our beautiful, one-of-a-kind Space View Park. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That's a Taj Mahal of astronaut handprints, as you well know.
We're very proud of that park as well.
Amy, what do we need to know from you?
Well, our highest priority at the Titusville Police Department is the safety of our visitors, safety of our motorists, safety of our pedestrians. So we want to make sure that people know ahead of time it's going to be congested. There's going to be a lot of traffic. There's going to be a lot of pedestrians walking around in those launch viewing areas. We are told by officials that there might be between 100,000 and 200,000 people visiting the Space Coast to watch this launch. So we are prepared. We have all hands on deck from the Titusville Police Department, many officers working the roads trying to keep everyone safe, but we want to make sure that motorists put down those distracting devices, do not text and drive, especially in these congested areas. Someone get hurt. We want to make sure you're prepared and looking on guard at all times. People are going to be coming in and out of the side along the shore of the Indian River, jetting out into traffic. So just go slow, be patient, proceed with caution, and drive safe.
And Amy, you've got a tip about people that have pets. And a couple other don'ts from Sergeant Waring. So tell us what you feel about pets.
Oh, it was funny because we were just talking about some dogs in space.
We're going to talk about the two dogs in space launched by Russia 61 years ago.
Yeah, so speaking of dogs, I know we love our dogs. However, dogs probably don't enjoy launches as much as we do. And we want to make sure those dogs stay at home and view the launch safely from their home or their kennels. Bringing dogs to the launch or the shore is very difficult. They run out into traffic and they could get hurt. So for their own safety, please leave your pets at home. Plus, it gets awfully hot. They don't want to be out in that heat.
And another thing to keep track of while you want to enjoy the launch. Sergeant Waring, we're going to 8:30 a.m.'s the launch.
Yes.
So people will be coming in before sunrise. You're going to have a little bit of a twilight situation there, which of course is pedestrians. You're going to maybe want to wear some bright colors or don't wear black if you're going to be walking around.
Absolutely.
Black in the heat, unless you guys are officers.
Well, it's what we have to wear. But absolutely, going back to what Amy said about distracting devices not only impede individuals who are driving vehicles, but also pedestrians. A lot of people are walking and they think it's fine to be looking at my phone while I'm crossing a roadway and you don't see the oncoming car. As you can see, a lot of pedestrians right here on the bridge and throughout the roadways. As we work these launches, we see that quite often where individuals are walking across the roadway and cars are having to abruptly stop. Being awareness is very, very important. And distraction devices, distractions in conversation or with pets, whatever it may be, is the leading cause of traffic accidents. So we want to be mindful of that when we're out here. And yes, in the twilight areas, people's eyes are adjusting. So you have to be aware As the sun's coming up, you're adjusting from your night vision to, being able to see during the day. And that could be a little bit more difficult while navigating either in a car or on foot. So we just want to make sure that everybody's safe. And if anyone needs anything at all, that we're here for them.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to add to everyone's super excited. This is an historic launch. We're excited as police officers. We want to, partake, and it's so cool to be working this event. Just remember, there's going to be a lot of people out there. Be courteous. Be kind to your friends. These are people that have probably never witnessed a launch, and maybe you have, or maybe you haven't. Be courteous and kind. Everyone's excited, and just remember, no one's going to do anything deliberately. They're all out there to enjoy the launch and enjoy this amazing experience. I did want to touch real quick on this picture. The bridge, the Amex Brewer Bridge, if you want to get updates on that, we are going to be closing that bridge to motor traffic at launch time. So if you're that way, at least an hour after that launch, it will be closed to motor traffic, at least an hour, to allow the safe crossing of pedestrians. Cars cannot be driving on that bridge where we're trying to get pedestrians across. However, there is a great chance that that bridge will be closed before the launch to motor traffic. So please watch our social media. Titusville Police Department, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on Twitter. We'll be giving instant, real-time updates on the closure of that bridge to motor traffic. We want to make sure everyone can cross safely and no one was hurt. Like I said, this is a fantastic launch. We're super excited, and our goal as a police department is to keep everyone safe so they can visit our city and then also exit our city. Also, for exit maps, just to get an idea of the launch exit maps, we're working with multiple agencies, cameras, FDOT. We're going to be working with their cameras, making sure that we can see the best times to turn lights on and off after the launch to get the traffic moving. Please go to Titusville.com and look at those exit maps. Depending on where you're at, there's great ways to get out of the city and the most efficient ways for your departure of the city if you choose to do so right after the launch.
Well, thank you. That's Marty. Real quick, I wanted to show the scene at actually Spaceview Park off a video I captured. Look at that mob scene there. Of course, it's configured a little bit different now, and we expect a lot of this.
Oh yes.
Up and down there. So it'll be clearly marked, I'm assuming, where you cannot park, right?
Yes.
And so please cooperate with that. And that's about how it's going to look. Off in the distance is STS 135 in July 2011. And this will look very much like a shuttle launch because it's got shuttle hardware on it. Two solid rocket boosters and 4 engines on there. So, I know you all had another engagement, and we're so pleased that you could help our viewers all over the world stay curious. We've got Ophelia's in Normandy, France, and Robert's in Dundee, Scotland, and they're wishing they could be here, but they're going to be looking for the pictures. We got people all over the country, and we appreciate Amy and Timothy Waring here. Anything else to add before you guys scoot out?
We appreciate you, and just be safe, Titusville.
All right.
Be safe. And
Stay curious, Titusville. Be safe.
Everyone's going to want to see this, and there'll be people in front of you and behind you and all, and just make it a good time. I believe it's a 2-hour launch window. And don't get in a hurry. Tell your boss, I'm coming. I'll be there, but by tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, folks.
Thank you all.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Mention it could scrub and could be delayed to
September 2nd.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. If there's a scrub, then September 2nd would be the next one. They have 2 opportunities there. Thanks,
All right.
Marty.
Thanks, you guys.
We thank Amy and Sergeant Waring for being here. And you guys have the rest of the great day. That was a beautiful launch we watched.
I know. We just had a launch.
That
Yeah.
was crystal clear.
They have
That
it so
rocket
often
going up.
nowadays.
That's right.
We are truly blessed to live in this city. It's amazing. So
Amy has sent me some charts that will be broadcasted next week on Stay Curious to make sure everybody sees on there.
Yep.
So once again, thank you, folks. We'll see you later.
Thank you,
Amy,
sir.
thank you always
Bye-bye.
for responding to us. We'll see you all later, okay?
See
I'm
ya.
going to scoot over here
you're going to get the center.
as we
Bye, everyone.
segue. See you folks later and be safe, okay?
We will. Thank you.
Now I'm going to reach down here. We're going to segue into our Stay Curious program here today. Glad you're with us. We have got dogs, rats, flies, and rabbits launched into space. We've got 3 astronaut birthdays of people that you know. And how about the second woman to be launched into space? all coming up here just a second, as we're going to reconfigure our set here. Marty, that went pretty smooth. Thank you, sir. And we will be broadcasting the maps that they're showing us, where the different routes are going to be. And I really appreciate our police department coming on Stay Curious here. So, Marty, let me put the picture up there. And that is, once again, a shuttle launch, but it's going to look pretty much like that, because those SRBs are going to trail smoke. And the 4 shuttle engines that are going to, of course, everything's going to be ditched in the ocean. Nothing's coming back to propel the Artemis 1 and Orion spacecraft to a big looping orbit around the moon. So this will be exciting. And like they said, we're looking forward to the big crowd being here. But let's stay curious. With a 1960, the Soviet Union launched these 2 dogs, Belka and Strelka. They translate to Whitey and Little Arrow, though neither one's too white. They got little markings on them. 40 mice, 2 rats, a variety of plants, and a television camera that took pictures of the dogs in space. This is before they were put in the capsule was sealed. And a rabbit went to space. I tried to find more about the rabbit, but this is in 1960. About 8 months before Yuri Gagarin's manned flight of one orbit. They were going to do 3 orbits, and these are the first living creatures to go to Earth and return safely. Now, the Russians launched a dog. Go in orbit in space. And yes, the Russians launched maybe close to 3 dozen dogs on suborbital missions. I know one dog I was reading about had 5 suborbital flights, and to figure out about living creatures and the effects of launch and landing and so forth. Well, they were going to do 5 orbits, but one of the dogs suffered seizures during the 4th orbit, and they brought it back. And Gagarin was supposed to do 3 orbits, but he only did 1. And a lot of that was based on this data from these dogs. And there is the small capsule that the dogs flew in. The whole menagerie came after a failed launch a month before of 2 other dogs in animal varieties. Laika, of course, was the first dog to go to space, November 3rd, 1957, first one to orbit, and it was not intended to survive the orbital trip. The bodies of, they're the dogs again in a color picture to give you an idea that they're not very big dogs. They fit inside of there. In fact, you can see in the case beside them is Belka, I believe. They actually, a taxidermy preserved the dogs. Oh, yeah, Marty, go ahead. There's the, show where the dog is right there next to the capsule. So they were Mutniks. They were crossbred dogs that they basically picked up around the launch pad. And Marty, I saw training footage of these. These dogs were in centrifuges. They were trained just like cosmonauts. And these 2, and the 2 before them that perished, I'm sure, were overachievers. And there's Strika, or Belka, and Strika there. And Strika was a female, and she had pups, and they gave the pups to President Kennedy. First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy was given one of the puppies as a goodwill present. President Kennedy's advisors advised against. They were opposed to taking the dog for fear the Soviets might have planted a microphone in its body to listen to national defense missions. Such was the spy versus spy of the 1960s. So I don't think they could do it back then without it being easily detected. So, but they could probably do it now for sure. So all these animals, rats, flies, a rabbit, launched into space in 1960 and brought back alive, and many stories on that. So you can find ways to stay curious about that. Well, let me don my party hat right here, all right, as we celebrate 3 astronaut birthdays today, and I'll bet you know every one of them, all right? And I've certainly met this one. Story Musgrave, all right? Happy birthday to you, sir. He's 86 years old, 6-time astronaut, all right? Charlie Bolden is 75. We'll see him in a minute. And Mike Massimino is 60, I believe. So they were. Let's get to Story first. Super smart, 6-time astronaut Story Musgrave was born in 1935, so he's 87 years old. Okay. And he grew up in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, but considers Lexington, Kentucky to be his hometown. He's the only astronaut to fly all 5 space shuttles, at least once on his 6 trips to space. So a trivia question is, which shuttle did Story fly twice? And that's, of course, Challenger. And this is a Tom Usiak's photo of him on one of his missions. This was a Hubble, I think that was another Hubble mission. He was on the first, actually he did the first EVA in a space shuttle, Cargo Bay. All right, boy, is that STS-6 or 5? I forget. 53 days in space, 4 EVAs. He led the 61 Hubble repairs of the telescope, which is this mission here I see by the patch. He said the EVA astronauts had to rehearse every footstep as if they were in a ballet in a ballerina. And Story's got 7 academic degrees. He's a doctor of medicine. I think he's got 4 doctorate degrees. An amazing human being you will never forget meeting, and I've met him several times. He actually crashed our Shuttle Fest in April. Showed up there. He was going out to Yuri's night and heard about us, and he crashed it with Nicole Stott, and there I am talking to the wonderful, engaging Story Musgrave. Marty, a comment, question?
Yeah, for me, he's also a marathoner, but
Oh, is he a
Yeah.
long-distance runner? Okay.
Tom Stolentano said Story Musgrave is quite a guy. Coincidentally, Charlie Bolden was born the same day as Bill Clinton.
Oh, so Bill Clinton's birthday's today, too.
That's me.
All right, Charlie Bolden. Yes, we know it's his birthday today. He's 76, I believe. And Mike Massimino's born today. So thank you, Tom, for watching. And get that plastic out, Tom. We got another auction tomorrow, okay, to talk about. And I didn't even put a mem in that because I got so excited about our representatives of the police department being here. And Marty, hold on to your hat. That's me 16 years ago, okay, at that is Camp Wasumke at Big Pine Key in the Florida Keys, where I spent 16 or 17 wonderful weeks of stargazing, different years with the Miami Club. And he was there for 3 days. Everybody got to know Story and engaged by all of his talks. Just an amazing, amazing person. Marty, I would say without a doubt Story Musgrave is the highest intelligent person I probably stood beside. And yet he was very down to earth and loved to talk. Well, Marty, you're the second one, okay, in there. Only because you're a Marine, all right? I don't think Story had a military background. I could be wrong. But this guy did, a fellow Marine, Charlie Bolden, who is 76 years old today, born in Columbia, South Carolina. I have seen a great display of his stuff at the Columbia Science Museum. He, of course, piloted 2 shuttle missions and a commander of another 2. There he is on the left seat there of the commander. And then President Barack Obama made Bolden NASA's administrator, the first African-American to head the agency. And he did that, of course, through the Obama administration, 8 years. There's another official photograph of Charlie Bolden. Yeah, Marty.
Story was a Marine.
Oh, Story was a Marine? Okay. Marty, check that out real quick. So Story was a Marine. 2 Marines here.
Yes, I thought he was.
Born in there. Well, that usurps all of his other stuff that they have when you're reading Wikipedia. Bolden is quite a guy, private, entrepreneurial, cooperative. He's the person that was in charge of privatizing Kennedy Space Center. So what more can you say about that? He did a great job. It's a good thing. We've got private companies now. One just launched an hour ago. All right, we watched from our parking lot. SpaceX launched another batch of satellites for communication. I think it was the 114th reusable first stage rocket, way up there in the hundreds. And it landed successfully, Marty, I think, out on the barge.
Okay.
And we wanted to throw in a picture of the suit tech, Sharon McDougal. She is the suit tech and was in charge of all that out there in Houston. We've had her on a Stay Curious program, and there she is suiting up Charlie Bolden. And she told us in an interview she was proud to do that as an African-American suit up a pilot who was in a commander who was an African-American. So happy birthday, Charlie Bolden, 76 years young. And then final birthday today is Mike Massimino, born August 19th, 1962 in Oceanside, New York, raised in Franklin Square, Long Island. Marty, you know where that is. I know you do. Marty's another Long Islander. So there, you got Marines, Long Islander connection with you there. And Mike Massimino and Story Musgrave both had their hands physically on the Hubble Space Telescope, as Massimino was on the last 2 repair missions there, including laying in that thing and twisting a bolt like a quarter of a turn and then another quarter of a turn for hours as they were doing some unbolting and putting things in there that were not planned when they originally had the Space Telescope service things in there. Yeah, Marty?
I lived about 10 miles from where Massimino grew up, so we went to different schools together.
Oh, really? You were in Hicksville, right?
Yeah.
And Massimino, they were 10 miles apart, but you all went to different schools. He was in Franklin Square. Is that near your Hicksville?
Not far.
And Long Island, of course, the home of Grumman. We love talking about the Grummies and Bethpage, where the Grumman built airplanes as well as our lunar module. Well, Massimino, you might know from the sitcom Big Bang Theory. He was on the space station when Wolowitz went up there to he was involved with the space toilet as well as the telescope up there. And those are great, great missions to watch, as Massimino nicknamed the actor that played Wolowitz Fruit Loops, because he liked to eat Fruit Loops for breakfast, so they called him Fruit Loops. And Massimino and Owen Garrett, not Owen Garrett, but I'm trying to think of the other astronaut. They have a podcast called Two Funny Guys. I've listened to it a few times on there. And we talked about him. Here in his book, Spaceman and Astronaut's Unlikely Journey to Unlock the Secrets of the Universe. And I'd love to meet him. Actually, he taught Marty at Florida Institute of Technology, about 30 miles south of us here in Melbourne. So maybe get a chance to get him on the show sometime. But 3 astronauts born on August 19th. We just had 3 born 3 days ago. Kathy Thornton. We had Thirsk the Canadian. And who was the other one, Marty? I can't think of. We had Kathy Thornton, Thirsk, and another shuttle astronaut. So 6 astronauts born within 2 days of each other. So I should have left that paperwork out, but I didn't. You're going to grab my notes there. You see him laying there. Who was that? You see? Oh, yeah, Tom Hennon. Yeah, thank you, Marty. Tom Hennon. He was on a Department of Defense mission. So Leos, if you're an astrology influenced person, boy, they are bold and brave and make great astronauts, apparently. So, and there's Massimino waving from the spacesuit there. Always cool to be your own satellite and orbiting the Earth in a spacesuit there. So, well, Marty, we've got another woman to talk about in space history. There she is, Cevet Lana Savanskia. And she was the second woman to go to space, almost 20 years after Valentina Tereshkova. This was Soyuz T-7, the 3rd mission to the Salyut 7 space station. And this is the first time a space station had a mixed gender crew. And they were smart Alex when she got on there and handed her an apron. And I think she threw it at their face and said, you know, you cook your own meals. but it was a joke, of course. But as you know, many of you know, the Soyuz spacecraft has 3 modules, and they're in the middle module where they are launched and re-entered. And there's the back module is all of the avionics and oxygen tanks and fuel tanks and telemetry situation. But there's a bulbous module, the orbital module, ahead of where the descent and ascent module is, and they let her stay in there so she could have privacy. She didn't have to sleep in the Soyuz 7. That was just basically 2 buses put together lengthwise. So, but she was a very serious astronaut, unlike Tereshkova, that just orbited the Earth and talked on the microphone to communist bloc countries during her mission in 1963. This mission in 1981 or 82, preceded by about 8 months, the first American woman to go to space, of course, Sally Ride. And of course, the idea, the Russians, their propaganda was to beat America at everything, to prove that communism was superior. There she is, Cevet Lana. She's 74 years old now, I believe, and this is a couple years ago. So, of course, she's an old lady in her 70s. She's very involved in the Politburo there. But they put her up one more time 2 years later. On her second flight, she did the first extravehicular activity or spacewalk by a woman. Russia had to prove that they're superior to that. And this was literally a couple months ahead of Kathy Sullivan doing her spacewalk, the first American woman to do it. So, Marty, I've never seen Svetlana and Tereshkova together. All right. And this always has kind of intrigued me because this lady was a real cosmonaut. I'm not going to demean Tereshkova being the first and all. She could parachute out of that. They were ejected out of the Vostok spacecraft and had to land on a parachute, and she was good at that. And Carlton Bailey knows that. He's watching today. But I've never seen the two of them together. And I'll bet this one is kind of resentful that the other one was just sort of a passenger on board, where she was a full-flung cosmonaut, to the extent that they were considering a third space flight for Svetlana Savanskia to command the first all-female crew. And they had 2 other cosmonaut ladies chosen, and the all-female crew was going to go up to Salyut 7. However, it had deteriorated in its orbit, and they lost contact with it, and it was later rescued by Soyuz T-13, much too ambitious training that they needed highly experienced cosmonauts for that. Not just women, they needed the experience there. So she indeed could have been a commander, the world's first space commander on there. So love to see a picture of her and the first lady in space, Valentina, together. If you got one of those, email it to me at MarQ Mark at AmericanSpaceMuseum.org. Ophelia, glad that you're watching there. Dave Stangy's watching. We have Diana Phillips watching. Christopher Mick. Amy Branch, thank you for watching. Tom Celentano, like I said, get ready for our auction tomorrow. I'll talk about that in a minute. Paul Forrester's watching, and Stephen Bradford Best. It means so much to us that you stay curious and enjoy our program on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Spotify. You watch it. Tell your friends to watch it on YouTube, because we monetize that channel on there, okay? And a word about our auction is going to be tomorrow starting at noon. You can go to the American Space Museum website. Up at the top it says auctions, okay? Click that, and there's all the links to follow. Or go to Bid Again Auctions is our auction local warehouse there. That is Chuck Jeffrey, who's a 30-year memorabilia collector. He's the auctioneer, owner of Bid Again Auctions. Chuck has basically saved our museum from being sold by these auctions. Have been a lucrative $30,000 to $50,000 or more a month that we need or not, each one get nets about that. That helps pay my salary. Marty's a complete volunteer, and we can't thank him enough for his time. But then Karan Conklin, and we have Anita True is our executive director. Anita Truex is our office manager, and Angie Roberts is our finance director. So we're the only paid employees, and we're not. We're paid okay for nonprofits. All right, I'll say that because it's a blessing to do what I do every day and some weekends representing the American Space Museum. And we will be representing. So the auction, you can go pre-bid right now. All right, there's about 400 lots. It'll start at noon when the first gavel hits. Boy, there's all kinds of cool banks in there. I didn't know how long the police were going to go with us today, so I didn't rack up a bunch of pictures of the auction. I apologize for that. But I've been efforting Amy Matthews and an officer here all week, and they only had a few minutes to stay with us. If they're here longer, that's why I didn't rack up a bunch of pictures for the auction. But you can bid now and bid till it hurts, and the auction will go on till almost 6 o'clock. So everything is sort of chronological, starting with Mercury items and then Gemini. There'll be a lot of items at the beginning that are space related and unmanned related. A lot of photographs. If you want an astronaut autograph, they are all authenticated by Chuck and his team of other memorabilia collectors around the world. So you're buying with confidence. You're buying real things. But I want to make you aware of one thing. You buy something for $100, the American Space Museum is going to put a charity fee of 20% on it, and you're going to pay $120 plus shipping. This is a charity auction to support our museum, and everybody knows that going in. And if you have a $1,000 item, you're going to pay $1,200, all right, plus shipping. And you European people, the shipping is quite steep, as well as the tariffs and duty taxes and so forth. We've really found some problems with that the last year or so as they've upped these duty fees and so forth for everything coming into countries, and kind of almost your taxes and duty fees can be as much as the item that you bought. Marty, a comment?
Yeah, thanks. NASA identifies candidate regions for landing next Americans on the moon today.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I've not watched a whole lot of news. We've known for years that they're going to want to land at Shackelford Crater, was what has been talked about. But if there are detailing some sites, it's about time. Okay, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, I don't think can give is a north. It rotates east and west around the equator, and they really need a north-south to pick out exactly where they want to land. So I'll check that up. Thank you for staying curious about that, and we'll bring that to you Monday, most likely. Monday, we are going to have another special guest. That is, of course, Mr. Nick Thomas will be here for his second appearance in a row to talk about the... we're going to talk about the Visitors Complex, Kennedy Visitors Complex, where Nick's worked for 35 years. And we're going to tell you from the beginning of it, all right, to now. And Nick's already sent me some photos. Many of you don't know that in the 60s on Sunday, there was an advertisement to load up the station wagon with your kids, and you can drive all over Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Marty, did you do it with your kids?
Yeah, sure did.
He said he sure did. And that would have been cool to load up and drive around and look at pad 14 and 19. and they were just building pad 39 for Apollo, I'm sure. But yeah, Nick Thomas, thank you for embracing our museum. Tuesday, we're going to have Carlton Bailey here, who took this beautiful photograph of Artemis. Carlton, thank you for contributing that photo of Artemis rollout on Wednesday night, I guess it was. So we're going to have, he's going to tell us a little bit about being a working photographer out there for, I believe he came on about STS 26. But he's done over 600 launches. Carlton, thank you for supporting our museum by letting us use your photographs. And we love telling people what a great photographer you are. And then Wednesday, hopefully we'll effort, who have I got up there? Marty on Wednesday. Oh, yeah, we got Mikey here Wednesday. Mikey had died with payloads. So a lot of guests Wednesday. And we always look forward to hearing about the shuttle era from people who lived it. So, boy, it's getting nice. I'm going to go out this weekend and take a photo. I'm going to drive over this bridge, and about 3 miles from this bridge is where there's a pull-off at the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge. It costs you $20 a car to get in, but if you got a lifetime pass like me, you just whiz by and show them that pass. And I'll show you a photo of what it looks like out there Monday. It looks beautiful. You're real close to it. They will be, like I said, I'm going to maybe try to watch this from the bridge, Marty, just so I can say I did it. Yes.
Look, it's a national park, so anybody who has a national park pass.
Good reminder, it is a national park, so if you come in for the weekend, you have a national park pass like I do. Senior citizen pass is good at any of the national parks for free. All right, and they acknowledge it out there. That saves you $20 a trip. The beaches are beautiful out there, okay? You've got 12 beaches where people wear clothes and one where they don't, Marty. That's number 13. And but they're really good, beautiful beaches. What they lack from the Cape Canaveral and Cocoa Beach scene is all the vendors, because there's no vendors out there. This is a national wildlife refuge, a national park. So you bring your own stuff out there. So, but I love going out there and enjoying the beaches. And you can see the launch pads right there. It's crazy close. Beach 1 is. So you will not be sitting there to watch the Artemis rocket launch off. So, Marty, thank you for a great week. We have anything else going on here?
No, well, Nick Thomas said, Mark, I'll see you Monday.
Nick, thank you, buddy. We are looking forward to seeing you Monday. I'm going to sneak out and see the astronaut du jour either Saturday or Sunday. So if you're working, Nick, I'll be seeing you out there. Maybe take a picture of him. Nick has introduced these astronauts for decades, actually. And we're so happy that he wants to share his stories. All I have to do is put a picture up, and he's off and running. And that's the kind of people we like to have as guests. So I'm not running my mouth all the time. I am just the host. I am not a space worker or any shape or form. I love our astronauts, but I love our space workers just as much, like Marty Winkle and Nick, who we're going to have on our show out there. So everybody, wish a happy birthday to Story Musgrave. I guarantee you, if you've met him, you've got great stories about him. He is an incredible, smart, and talented and amiable human being. And our wonderful former director, Charlie Bolden, happy birthday to him. And Rick Massimino, Long Islander, a great happy birthday to you. And Nick has got Garrett Reisman is his podcast buddy on there, and I've listened to it a couple times, Marty. They basically just pick a topic and run with it, and they're fun to listen to. So a lot of space history. Think of your dogs. Don't bring your dog to the launch, like Amy Matthews said. It'd be more hassle than anything, and the dogs aren't into rocket launches. They're kind of noisy for them, and you never know with the crowds what could happen. So Marty, thank you for a wonderful week of Stay Curious. We've had our challenges. We got knocked off yesterday with a big lightning storm. We're expecting another storm to roll in here in a couple hours. That poor Artemis spacecraft out there unprotected, fingers crossed. Saturn V had a little enclosure around it, so did the shuttle, to protect it some from these rainstorms. But it is the middle of August, in the middle of hurricane season, so we're used to it here, those of us that live on the Space Coast. So thank you all for being such followers of Stay Curious. And again, thank you everyone who supports our nonprofit, where for 20 years we've been preserving the birth of America's space program in its delivery room here in Brevard County. So until next week, I'm Mark Marquette saying, come visit our museum. In fact, we're going to be open Sunday before the launch on August 29th. So we will be open Sunday. I'll be talking about that next week. So if you're in town, come on by and say hi so we can bridge the space between us.